And hey, everybody, this is the Writer Brothers. I'm Corian Witch in Residence, and we just watched the second to last episode of Skeleton Crew. Petey, please take it over, brother.
All right. Well, compared to last week's episode, how do we feel overall? Because last week had its moments, but to me it was kind of okay.
I felt last week's episode was more about character development for characters that hadn't really gotten development, at least in those directions yet. And this one has really been more about plot development. Pozapatos, what do you think, brother?
Dude, I think this is probably the first most obvious thing I've noticed watching this one. Watching Star Wars as a parent versus watching Star Wars as a non-parent is two completely different stories. And so for this, like, the last episode was a lot slower, a lot more like, let's get to know these characters. But like, as a parent, I'm like, yeah, let's get to know these kids that we've been following around. I kind of want to know like how they feel about what's been going on with their adventure. But like as a normal viewer, I was like, last episode would have been so slow any other time watching it. Like any other time I would have been like, this is the worst episode so far. But like watching it as a parent, I'm like, oh, this is actually exactly what you hope for in terms of they didn't make these kids sound like superheroes, but they also didn't make them sound like nihilists. And then this new episode comes in and it's like, yeah, we're right back on Star Wars. Like, for once, we are following the Dave Filoni story arc, this Dave Filoni episode circle, rather than the whatever the other ones were versus, and on top of that, like whatever, even The Mandalorian, like The Mandalorian tries to follow what Dave Filoni did, but like Jon Favreau is like, yeah, but also. And so he tries to do a little bit more like, maybe I can Game of Thrones The Mandalorian, and you can, but you got to pick one. You can't do a little Filoni and a little Thrones. You got to pick Thrones or Filoni, because Filoni does this thing where it's like, no, we're going to tell you a whole story. Sometimes it's going to take an episode. Sometimes it's going to take 3 episodes, but we're going to take one story. And that's what makes this universe so awesome, is it's like, oh yeah, we're watching the cops of Law and Order, but they're in the Star Wars galaxy dealing with Star Wars crimes. They're not dealing with SVU. They aren't dealing with one particular set of crimes. They aren't just murder investigations. But then this show is just like that, the Filoni method. These are kids trying to get home. Yeah, and each episode is how much closer did they get, and in what way. And this last episode is like, well, according to the episode 6, they got everything they need, so they should be fine. And episode 7 is like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, they love that. I like that. I mean, are we going spoiler or are we not going spoiler?
It's up to Petey. He's the one we're talking to.
Yeah, like, Petey, are we going spoiler?
I don't know. With the way you guys have talked about this episode compared to last week, I almost think that maybe you should try to dance around the spoilers as best you can. But I don't know. Is it an impossible task? Or
well, I would say that them attempting to get home is a bit of a monkey's paw, right? Like, be careful what you wish for, or you might just get it.
Yeah,
bro. On top of that, like what the parents are like going through, it's like these parents have been Stranger Things aged Star Wars citizens, so like they are way more used to everything working out, the government doing its job appropriately. But their kids don't live in 1980s America. They live in a galaxy far, far away. And for this episode, is a minor spoiler, but the kids get the parents' message.
Yeah.
And it's too little too late.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, so there's that piece. There's, we get a bit of I want to say a bit of a resolution on part of at least the pirate arc of this. Really, it feels like this is the episode that everyone got what they wanted, but not the way they wanted it. And that leaves for a fantastic ending to occur. And that's really the best way to do it, right?
The weirdest thing about it is the way Judd gets what he wants leaves open that the next episode could explain anything.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much room to go with how this planet is revealed to the galaxy, or if it isn't. Because it's like, I mean, this is a minor spoiler, but this is more for Corione. But like, the emissary was not a surprise visit.
No.
And that's weird. Like, what do you mean they've been regularly showing up to make collections?
Well, no, they haven't been. No, they haven't been. But because they made that clear that this was unprecedented. But they were ready for it. They were hoping for this moment, right? They had everything in place.
Right, but which part was unprecedented? The lack of foreknowledge or the arrival itself?
Yeah.
Because if you notice one thing that they said, you need to speak to the director above the barrier.
Yeah, so they know, but they made it specific that it was a Republic representative beyond the barrier.
No, but what I mean is they said the director is outside the barrier, is above the barrier. So
no, he's in charge of the barrier.
No, they said it really made it sound like because they didn't say outside the barrier, they said above, as if it was somebody there's a barrier central control platform.
Maybe there's
that's who was supposed to radio ahead, and that's the unprecedented part. That's what I mean is part of me thinks maybe they have been doing deliveries and we didn't know about it.
See, I don't know. Personally, I don't think the supervisor actually exists. I think that it's some robot or something in charge of this planet.
We know there was a supervisor because the planet that showed them where Atten came from or was hidden with had a supervisor that had collapsed. But that one was in the top of the tallest tower. And so when this guy said above the barrier, the tallest tower.
Yeah. So real quick, I want to bring attention. First of all, John, I like the new sign. I like what it's supposed to say, but I also know what it says. Can you turn the light down a little bit? It's highly sat. I don't know if it's one of those kind of lights.
It's kind of oversaturated, yeah.
It's kind of.
I blame the fact that my lights dimmed on their proper time. But not during podcast hours.
I mean, that's part of it. So yeah, I like where you're going with this. We need to, and that's, well, we'll work on it.
Yeah. So no, I think this is going to be, I think, if you're going to tell the hero's journey, right? Hey, there you go. That looks much better.
That looks, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lighting.
Now it just looks like the Walker brothers, but yeah, it's getting better. Slowly improving, just like us.
This is the funny part.
There we go. Oh, perfect.
There you go. Now, the I will say this. This is how you write the hero's journey, right? Like the hero's arc. Because the hero's arc doesn't end with the hero coming home and everything being great. The hero's journey ends with the hero coming home and everything has changed. Usually it's for the hero, but we now have, this logical extension, and every Star Wars show has tried to be the hero's journey. And this one, I think, has done a really, really good job of it.
Well, dude, this one is it's not so much the hero's journey as it is the planet's journey. Because, like, in this case, the planet sent out wanderers to see the state of the state and what those wanderers are about to tell the planet. And this goes back to, like, what you were saying earlier about a droid being the overall supremacy, is like, that's still more information. Like, this droid could update because, for all intents and purposes, they actually did create Utopia without Force users. There is one planet that is running in a utopian fashion. And so, like, part of me is like, did they actually make the First Order make sense? Because if you want to tell me that the enemy that Rey is fighting is these guys, sponsored by Palpatine's last-ditch effort, and the Palpatine we see in The Rise of Skywalker is 100% a clone of the other Palpatine raised by the original Palpatine, and it's more of a Boba Jango Palpatine situation, again, you're making some things that shouldn't work. But that is a Dave Filoni special. Like, Dave Filoni's Clone Wars saved every single thing about Star Wars for what it is today. Because, like, otherwise you have to be a nerd and read the books and hope that it all makes sense. Like, whereas Star Trek, until recently, everything made itself make sense, or something was right around the corner to make that last thing make sense on screen, that's the part that, like, Dave Filoni did for Star Wars. That's the part that this is doing for all those other ones. Like, even Andor and The Mandalorian are just adventures in the Star Wars universe. This show is like, here is a giant source of money that could literally fuel the Republic, fund the Republic as we once knew it.
Yep.
Question mark. Like, that's the way this episode ends, is just question mark.
No, but it was the perfect ending for this. Yeah. It was absolutely the perfect ending for this. And now, here's a question now that I have, though, from this episode, right? So we know that the older character, the evil dude, Judd. We know Judd's character is a Force user, right? I am seriously at the point now where I am wondering if one of the kids is not going to express the ability to use the Force by the end of the series.
I would say that the little black kid is the most likely.
Right, but that's almost why I don't think it'll be him. I think it'll be like the elephant kid.
No, I think it's all four of them. Honestly, I think that's going to be the secret of Ad-Adin, is it wasn't the fact that there was a lack of Jedi, it's that there was a lack of dark. Like, they never had the dark side, so this is just a pure Force-sensitive planet. Because the way it ended is we watched Judd whip out his lightsaber, and the parents don't look that scared.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, everyone's used to seeing a blue saber being the sign of peace and hope in the galaxy, right?
No. That's not the impression I got. Like, the parents knew that the kids needed to be pulled away. You watch the parents all step in front.
Yeah, fair.
All of them. Like normally, like especially when it comes to like Ned. Is this Ned? The other friend is Ned, the elephant kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his parents, and just in terms of name a sci-fi movie, the elephant kid is almost always the coward, right? The cowardly
Right.
lion. But if you notice, the mom was the one that stepped in front of both dad and Ned.
Yeah.
So like that's what I mean is like the way this ended was in such a tease that like, oh yeah, you saw that gold, that's cool. But if you've been playing Star Wars lore and you've been watching modern Star Wars lore, theoretically there is a force sensitive planet full of unabated Jedi.
Maybe.
And it's like, why are our parents so cool with this conformity? It's like, because the day you turn 18, you start Jedi training.
Maybe.
Theoretically. And that's what I mean is like, there are so many teases that this show is leeching off of. Whereas like the Acolyte kept trying to tease you with little things that it was throwing at you, and it was explaining them the whole time. You'd be like, oh wow, that seems like that could be a really ominous, oh, that's the next scene. The dramatic irony was revealed the very next scene.
Yeah,
But, like,
it was.
Skeleton
Look.
Crew's like, I am relying on some really unrealistic lore. Number one, kids in space, not that bad. Number two, pirates in the Star Wars universe actually follow a code and have some sense of moral ability. Like, those are the first two biggest fantasy elements of this show, and not a peep from any of us critical writing Star Wars fanatics. Like that, those two accepted, ignored, don't care about them. But like that's the hardest part of the show. And then the rest of it is like teasing off of other lore that if you've been paying attention, you know they have not misstepped once.
No.
But also, if you know, you still have no idea what the next episode's about to drop. And I am so happy by that.
Honestly, you guys have hyped up the episode. I'm probably honestly gonna go watch it after we wrap up Tuesday night recorded here. So yeah, any last non-spoiler thoughts? Because this it's a pretty good review. I'd say
Honestly, I think the only thing I want to add is I am really looking forward to the finale for this, because I feel like there is a lot of potential to set up another avenue in the galaxy for us to explore. And I want that. I want a new direction to be able to take Star Wars. And I think we're getting it, and I want to see it go further. So I hope this opens the door to a lot more like it.
And on that note, Disney, Johnny Depp didn't do it. So yo ho, Captain Jack Sparrow of the Star Wars High Seas. Let's go, dude. I would watch that. Are you kidding me? Pirates of the Star Wars verse?
No, actually, I would put Johnny Depp in an Imperial uniform and then have him turn out to be like this rogue Imperial that defected like right before Palpatine's fall. And then it turns out he's got like just a whole fleet of marauding ships, but nobody realizes it's him until the mystery unfolds. And then we are, oh my gosh, it was the drunken pirate captain the whole time.
Hey man,
yeah, no, I would honestly put him
Feel
on
better
that
than the
story,
sequels.
dude. I put him as a drunk sergeant in a stormtrooper outfit, but he's the one stormtrooper that regularly takes off his helmet. So we don't see anybody
Yeah,
else's
how old
face.
is Johnny Depp now? Like 55 or something? Yeah, I don't buy it.
You know what, man? I want to like. I think there's room in Star Wars for Pirates of the Caribbean, and
This
Look,
show
dude, I
basically
would say
proves
that
it.
we're
Yeah.
watching the worst version of that right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because like Treasure Planet is the worst Pirates of the Caribbean. It is still necessarily about a noble kid who doesn't believe in piracy
Yep.
winning, right? But Pirates of the Caribbean is like, no, we're cheering for Captain Jack. Like, he's going against other pirates, but he's also going against
the tyrannical
the
British
British East
government.
India Trading Company,
Yeah.
the worst imperial monopoly of all time. Like,
That's why I find all this talk of the UK being mad about Elon. I'm like, resisting the UK government is an act of patriotism in the United States.
Nah, man. Okay, first I got to stop you there, right? Because here's the thing: if you don't want the king coming over and messing with your stuff, and you've got a whole bunch of laws about that, you kind of can't do the same thing and expect otherwise, man.
I'm gonna be honest. The thing that needs to happen is for Britain's king.
Anyway, this is a Saturday
bow down.
So
if
let's
Britain's
finish the
king bows
recording and
down,
get back
then
to
America
it
goes, wait, Elon is a king?
All right.
Now we have to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And that's how we start our own Star Wars. Because now we'll have SpaceX, its own empire.
You know what? I wasn't even gonna say anything, but now that you brought it up, I got distracted here on Twitter. Because well, what's trending? Let's see: Palisades Fire, The Dark Knight, Santa Monica, Halo Infinite, and the New World Order. And I click on the New World Order, and what does that have to do? Oh, apparently since 1942, they've talked about annexing Greenland, Canada, and Mexico into the United States as part of the plan. But more on that on the end of the world on Saturday. Otherwise,
well, all I will say is this: as a completely depowered member of Canadian society, Canada is more than willing to accept the United States as a territory of Greater Canada.
Yeah, sadly, the way it's looking is going to be the opposite, and I'm really sorry about that. I mean, congratulations on the magazine increase, but your health care is about to take a biggest shit.
Well, here's all I can say to that. You guys do realize that you guys left a whole bunch of nukes up here for first strike on Russia, and they're just kind of sitting here, and we have the codes for them, right?
Well, your governor resigned.
No, not our governor. Our prime minister resigned.
Prime minister,
but
president,
the party is still in charge.
That's how upper tier political joke right there.
Oh, anyway,
shot across the bow because you're already technically a vassal state.
No, not anymore.
The file,
haven't been for a while.
Anybody that accepts somebody else's muscle is a vassal state.
Thanks for joining us for the episode 7 review of Skeleton Crew with the Writer Brothers. I'm Petey York. Please join us on what day is it? The 14th? Yes, please join us on the 14th for our final live special. And then after that, we'll be going back to our Tuesday night schedule of things that what that's going to look like. We'll figure that out. But I'm Petey York. That's Corione Pollo Zapatos.